Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to welcome you all today. Before we get started, I would request everyone to stay on mute and just turn on your cameras. We have a very selected bunch of people online on the call with us today in the Zoom room, along with our honorable panelists. But if you wish to share this discussion with your friends and colleagues, you are welcome to share the Facebook Live that is streaming on at the moment. So, you are here today at Pencils and Pistons Thought Leaders Huddle on sustainability and digital trends in supply chain in collaboration with the Star in Me. To introduce you about the two communities that are bringing this event, Pencils and Pistons is a co working and learning community for all the change makers in the heavy industry. Our objective is to come together to learn through a peer learning model, get mentored from the best in the industry, and influence the digital and diversity trends of our industry, which is currently on its path to the fourth industrial revolution. The intention is bringing together men and women to create a safe space to upskill and create role models and allies for women leaders in this unconventional space. So, thank you so much to all our honorable panelists who joined us today and the people who made time today for this particular event. This event is in collaboration with the Star in Me. The Star in Me is a global career advancement and learning platform for women talent, and it's also a DNI partner to organizations. The core objective of the platform is to power women leaders of today and tomorrow through scalable, systematic, creative, and innovative solutions. Within 10 months of launch, the platform has attracted more than 5,000 women professionals from 60 countries, empaneled 75 global leadership experts, and partner with 10 enterprise clients to strengthen the DNI strategy, maturity models, and help diversity hiring needs and execute the leadership development solution. So, interestingly, this panel now starts, and we will be talking about the micro and the macro impact of the trends on the bottom line. So, allow me to introduce our amazing set of panelists today from different parts of the world. Firstly, we have with us Jeet Hinchmensch. She's a founder of Supply Chain Advisor, business strategist, author, blockchain enthusiast, engineer, speaker, and a mentor based in Indiana, USA. She has more than 15 years of unique hands on experience and the ability to provide a strategic lens as an end to end supply chain management. She is a distinctive solutionist, stabilizing agent with the ability to bring a sense of continuous accountability for achievement. Welcome, Jit. Thank you so much for your time today. Next, we have with us John Patsavilas. He's a senior lecturer in manufacturing management in Cranfield University, having joined the university in 2018 following a career in the manufacturing industry spanning sectors as diverse as steel, food, paper products, pharma, fashion, building products, and ceramics. He has been a boardroom director since 2004. He has an honors degree in mechanical engineering, an MSc in manufacturing, and MBA, whilst his PhD research in Cranfield focuses on the digital transformation of the operation. He's an active member of the Institute of Engineering and Technologies Manufacturing Policy Panel and IET's Production and Design Sector Group. Thank you so much, John, for joining us today and giving us your time today on this panel. Next, we have with us Aruna Narayan. She's an alumnus of Harvard Business School and Cambridge Institute of Sustainability Leadership. She's a strategically oriented and result-driven professional with expertise in sustainability, environmental solutions, marketing, customer experience, and corporate social responsibility. In her 18 years of career, she has held leadership positions at various organizations like Dulsco, Accenture, Osman Financial Corporation. Through her work, she has enabled organizations to embark on their sustainability journey by engaging multiple stakeholders and create positive social, environmental, and economic impact. Presently, Aruna is the Director of Sustainability at PureCog, where she is creating and implementing a group-level strategy to achieve net positive impact by leveraging the triple bottom line approach. Thank you so much, Aruna, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Welcome to all our panelists once again. So without any delays, I want to dig deep into questions. The format we'll be following is very simple. I'll be putting in the questions. It's an open round. They're not directed question at somebody. You can simply unmute yourself if you want to be the first one talking about it. Unmute yourselves and answer it. So here goes nothing. Let's get started. As companies prioritize going green, they should start by turning their sights internally. Warehouse managers and supply chain leaders need to know exactly where resources currently go to waste and where improvements through modern technology and other green opportunities exist. How do you see putting these ideas into action? It's an open ground. Either of you three can go ahead and start with this one.
Okay, maybe I'll go first. Hello, everybody. It's nice to be on the panel with all of you. It's interesting to look at, how supply chain can become more sustainable. But what I would look at is the first step is to understand what sustainability really means. And the way I usually look at it is it's prosperity in perpetuity. So it's not just about getting something right today or tomorrow, but getting something right in perpetuity. So you automatically have a long-term focus. And the best way to start is looking inward. So as you rightly said, once an organization decides that it needs to go on this path, the first thing is to look inward and to do an as-is assessment. So that would be the first step. So they need to understand where are they right now, and do a very candid assessment of their entire supply chain. And because we say supply chain, it automatically means there are links. So while you start internally, you have to understand that at some point in time, your sustainability strategy needs to flow into your links and not just be restricted to the organization. But the first step would definitely be to look internally, do an as-is assessment, look at your industry. For example, you mentioned pencil and pistons is very actively involved with heavy industry. So through peer learning, can you do an assessment of what are your other competitors doing? What are similar companies doing? Get to a benchmark, set your KPIs, and then hit the road running. So yes, looking internal is the first and most important step. And collaborating with those around you. So I think I'll now would love to hear what Jit and John have to say about this. So I'm going to unmute myself.
I guess I'll go second. I agree with Aruna a lot, and looking internally, because this is something that has taken a little bit of a new kind of meaning recently, post-COVID. I've shared something on the chat, which is a guide we put out with the IET a year ago. I helped put it together with work we've done in Cranfield, and a lot of it, I read back and I looked at the videos and I thought, wow, how prophetic we were back in 2019. Look what happened. We even had like the flu virus as one of the expected unexpected elements on sustainability. But the reality is, I think the sustainability concept is shifting more from the connotations of environmental stuff. That has a trajectory of its own towards net zero, let's call it climate change. And sustainability is taking it, I think, that's my view anyway, and I think it's not a bad thing. It's taking a case of the organic meaning of the word, being to continue to exist, for the long term. And people, I think, are rediscovering the triple bottom line concept. They possibly, as Aruna said, if they do an internal, if they start internally and say, where's the value in this? And they take the three bottom line concept and say, okay, let's ensure balance on all those three legs. No, it's not like a marketing exercise or a social responsibility type of thing anymore. Let's see what the value is. Where's the value? Because regulation is coming on the net zero side of things, and you see what's happening in Europe. And last week we had our Prime Minister in the UK saying, "Oh, we're going to go to 2030 without diesel and petrol." Oh, fantastic! 10 years to do a remarkable infrastructure. That's never been done before. And everyone's saying, "Fantastic, but where's the plan?" There isn't one. But that's okay. That's regulations coming in. That's a nudge for businesses to look inside and say, all right, so we got something we have to do. Whether they actually produce cars or have nothing to do with the automotive industry or the petrochemicals, they use cars. They use transport. So that it's affecting everybody. So that's a good thing in my view. But yes, describe the as is, make it part of your strategy cycle of budgeting, and get some help, because these are complex concepts. We know what happened in COVID, and people say, "Oh, supply chain," and they know that long. They used to know that long before COVID. Now they're not doing alone. A little bit more interested. They're a little bit more interested in what is going on because they've seen disruption, which up until that point, it featured in the boardroom discussions as an opportunity cost. And we all know that the opportunity cost does not show up neither on the balance sheet, nor on the P&L, or on the cash flow statement. Shows up nowhere. It could be elements of conversations on shareholder annual meetings. Yeah, in case there's some very much educated ones. I'll stop right there, but I totally agree. Just look back in your what are your values and purpose? Do you really mean this? Is there really value? Well, regulation is forcing these conversations to come through. The Generation Zers are all about value. I'll stop right there. I give my opportunity to Jay to actually add what she thinks.
Okay, I try to take the back seat, try to hear what the two experts have to say, and I learned a lot. I certainly agree with Aruna and John about the sustainability point of view. We, supply chain management professional certainly is in position to touch every impact that we can towards a sustainable practices. If you are in the warehouse, how can you reduce the package and how you can manage the waste management, and how can you do the logistic, use the fuel that is more environmental friendly, is more effective. And I think the question is very good question. How do you put the idea into action? I believe that when it comes, it's not just one person. It requires everybody to realize that environment is directly impact our health and well-being, both body and mind, how environment impact us, and how we throw the waste away and it's become the toxic, and it hurt the environment, it also hurt us as well. So how to put the idea into action is start from the culture, it start from the belief that it's actually everything we do is impact us, and how you can apply it into the strategy and build a culture in your organization, in your community, or in your home where you live. So I think you need to believe in a cause, because there are some people still don't believe that the global warming is real. Or for me, I don't really mind what people believe, but if they care and try to keep it healthy as much as possible, I think that is a good thing. Think before you throw the trash out. Think before you throw, the coffee ground waste out. Can you do it for something else, using as a fertilizer? Just little things like that can help as well. Be just like said, you need to understand what sustainability means in your organization and how you can apply it into every link and ask your supplier to join the cause that you really reinforce the environmental impact that you need to do. Or you can support the social cause, like how to regreen the desert. The other week I travel, and when you be in a desert area, the housing area was just tight packed in the area, that the water or the electricity, and you have the huge waste that you cannot use. And some other country or some organization already try to regreen the desert back into forest. And it just like I said, it needs to start from some believing that you can do it, you can make it healthier. That way you can protect, not only meet your need at the current generation, and also preserve it for the next generation as well. That's what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzab. So what I'm hearing from this first question as a summary is that there's a need, firstly, to culturally change and understand why exactly we need to do it. Because if that doesn't start, we won't be able to integrate all the departments and all the people, because it's a change that comes from within at the end of the day, and we cannot have as many regulations as possible. Secondly, it's about, like Aruna said, doing an as-is analysis of the current situation and checking which are the areas wherein we can most effectively put them into action. And then the concept that John talked about, that this is not just a boardroom discussion. That's going to be like one of the highlights for me. This is not a discussion for conferences, just conferences. It's beyond that as well. It's much more than that. Okay, I think I got lost for a couple of seconds, but I was actually summarizing the concepts here. And I was talking about the one wherein talks about, firstly, it's a cultural change that needs to be there. Secondly, we need to have an as-is analysis of the current situation. Third, we need to talk about this beyond just, as something that needs to be done under CSR initiatives or boardroom discussions, but also something that creates value in the chain. So that's actually, these are the three summarization points that I got from the first question. Moving on to the next one, let's talk about the next one here. The consumers may assume that it's greener to buy a product online than to get it in their car and drive it to the store. Supply Chain Management Review said that this is not always the case, and green eco-friendly solutions are not always the most obvious choice. So where exactly should these eco-conscious consumers go? That's the next one, and probably we can follow maybe the same sequence, Aruna, John, and Jit, if you guys don't want to jump in and say.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a very interesting question also to me individually, because I'm sure most of us on this call are eco-conscious consumers. Now, an eco-conscious consumer it's a growing breed now. You see a lot of them who want to know where their product is coming from. They just don't want to be intuitive in their purchase decisions. They want to understand, does this have green credentials? Is it a fair trade product? So there's a lot of information out there, and there's a growing community of eco-conscious buyers. But as you rightly said, it's tricky because during this pandemic, let me narrate a personal experience. I'm someone who always used to drive and buy stuff, because I take my bags, go to the store, put it in, and usually in one drive, I would get a lot of my shopping done. But from the time I started ordering stuff online, I'd see that a tiny bottle of something would come in such a big box or a bag, despite me mentioning I do not need the packaging. So just this one example, I was, from a personal experience, was able to figure out that while I'm probably saving carbon emissions by not driving, the amount of packaging materials and boxes that I ended up with at home just by ordering the same amount of things online was humongous. So as an eco-conscious consumer, it's quite tricky because it's all about choices. So it's, again, we going back to the entire value chain. One is the product itself sustainable? Do I know where it's coming from? Do I know which country it's coming from? And how much is the traceability or the information available to me regarding that product? The second thing is, how is it reaching me? Is it, reaching in the most efficient way? Am I buying something, shipping all the way to me from the US, or is it available in a store locally, thereby, I'm getting a similar product with a lesser carbon footprint? So uh, it is a tricky one for eco-conscious consumers, but again, where we can all come together is when you have a community that informs each other about the information they have, and there is communication amongst eco-conscious consumers. And this is an amazing opportunity for brands to actually step in and authentically inform their consumers on why they are, I wouldn't want to say green, because that's just, goes on the environment side, but the fact that it's socially responsible, it's environmentally friendly, and it takes care of a lot of the small bits and bobs in the entire process. Now, as an eco-conscious consumer, I would not hesitate to put a couple of extra bucks or dollars on a product that is authentically able to convince me that it is doing the right things, and it's doing the right things consistently. So one of the things I find missing is a community or an online forum where reviews, like how we have TripAdvisor and a couple of other things for travel, a review portal of eco-conscious consumers actually reviewing products, asking the right questions to the manufacturers and getting the answers. So this is just my personal view, both as someone in the industry and both as a consumer myself, that I still struggle for a lot of answers. And I hope this could be an opportunity for all of us to pick it from here and explore creating something where we can share information about purchase decisions. So probably over to John now. Look forward to hearing what he has to say.
Oh, I love your point of view, and for a while now that resonates with me. Um, I think you said earlier on, people need to organizations need to look internally and say, all right, we believe in this, we want to do something. Let's start where we're at. Let's sketch what we're all about, what we do, and plot where we think it's a better place. But that is also starting with us as individuals, and it's easy to talk about sustainability and supply chains and extricate ourselves outside. Us. So I hate the word the term thought leaders, but some people have described me as such in times, and I thought, well, I don't feel anything like it, but because I'm a learning leader. First of all, I learn for myself, and what I've learned is I don't live a sustainable life. I'm a comfortable middle class person who doesn't have to worry about a lot of stuff, and because I don't have to worry about a lot of stuff, why would I have to give myself more worries? Life is comfortable. And to just do what you said, you have to become a little uncomfortable. First of all, recognition that maybe our lives, the way we behave as consumers, what we buy, what we use, how we use it. Just imagine a world where I never had to throw out anything, zero. Just imagine. And people might say, well, some people are very close to that. Really? Where are they? I'd like to see them, because you go out when the trash collection comes every week here in the UK, where I am. It comes once a week. We have a mountain of trash people pick up. And I remember when I was in industry working for a big pharmaceutical company, and I wanted to get some of my employees, some of my team members, to realize the waste that came out of the process. And they all kind of said, yeah, we want to do it. But because we didn't collect the waste in one place for people to see it, people couldn't visualize it. And then we thought, what are we going to do? So we're gonna get really see-through bins, and usually the bins are not see-through. So perspex bins that we can see the waste, and we're gonna plonk it just at the entrance every day. That's yesterday's waste, and it kind of did the trick. People just thinking, what? We never thought it was that much. And it was an extra incentive. Obviously, it took time and effort to kind of get there. I teach, a lot of you do know, and I've started thinking, I write a lot. I buy a lot of pens, and I love pens. I love writing, and I wash with paper, and now I'm trying something else called Remarkable, which is a digital writing device, which I'm falling in love with. But I still think that what do I do with the pens I buy? I throw them away. They're not being recycled. So I started rediscovering fountain pens. So I got a bottle of ink, and I got a couple of fountain pens, and I'm just thinking how many pens I'm going to throw away less after I use them at the end of the year. And I started telling my students, buy a cheap fountain pen. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, be gold plated. Just a reusable plastic one, that's fine. Start there, and the moment you start questioning everything that we touch and use, you think, can it be repaired? No. We have a movement right now, both in Europe and in the US, a legislation for the right to repair. Hallelujah, I would say to that, because up till now, try to repair your fridge? No. Buy a new one. Try to repair your wash machine? No, buy a new one. Why can't I repair my wash machine? Reaching for net zero, how about reaching for net zero waste in our households? And look, we're talking about, it's fair to say that whoever's on this call, and perhaps a lot of other people on this network, are of the early adoption curve of these concepts. Even if you make everybody understand what's the carbon footprint of something, so what? What are they going to do? Even if they care, what are they going to start? So behavioral economics says even if people care, we all tend to be, the average one of us are very lazy. And we have to make it less lazy. We have to nudge people. As you walk in the cafeteria in behavioral economics, say in a school, you put the healthy stuff at the beginning because kids will pick those up, right? How do we make it easier for people to make the right choices? Companies are going to be nudged by regulation and net zero and all that stuff, but still they need to be populated by people like you, people that are playing the role of an activist without antagonizing anybody inside, and helping people to do the right thing. But first of all, we need to understand what the right thing is from a personal perspective, because if there is a gap between say and do, we end up doing not justice to the concept. I'll stop right there. Thank you very much. I think there is a role for new business models. There is a role for information sharing. There is a role. Just imagine this. I'll give you an example. I don't even know how much data I create every day. I have no idea. But I've calculated with some of my students how much a gigabyte of data, what's the carbon emissions for a gigabyte of data across a 10-year life. And sometimes I'm sure I have gigabytes of data that are older than that right now. I don't use them. They're sitting in a data center somewhere, but I know that they're emitting about, each gigabyte emits about 1.5 kilograms of CO2. But today, how many gigabytes did I generate myself, my children, my wife, my house? I have no idea. Starting with knowing that, helping someone to get, the digital home. Alexa, hello, hey Siri, can you tell me how much CO2 I created today? In fact, tell me every day, and make sure it's accurate. And then give me a list of 2 or 3 things I can do tomorrow to bring that lower. That would be a nice business model we can sell to Google. How about that? I'll stop there.
Okay. I agree with John and Aruna in terms of making yourself, self-conscious as well, in terms of eco conscious. So now back to the question, where do the consumer that concerned about those go? I think this is the information era that we have more than any other time. If we educate ourselves and pay more attention, you can see that a lot more business that being born, producing the plastic-free products and more environmental friendly products and or packaging. So I really enjoy seeing those coming out, and I hope that they can stay in business into the the mass market platform, that they can serve more customer, and we have more choice that is actually better for the environment. And you couldn't help when you see people that go to the ocean and on their boat and see the whale that have the fish net tangled to them, and they are almost die, here and there. You can see more and more of those kind act that people risk their life to save the whale or save the dolphin or those kind of things. It makes you realize that whatever we do, the accident we have, we may not even know that happening. It can kill something. We just had Thanksgiving here in the US, and every time the packaging that came out, you can see a bunch of plastic, and the net around plastic, or the net that wrap around the big bird. If you can just pay more attention, cut it into small pieces, that way the animal won't get tangled if it end up into the landfill, those kind of thing. Just like John and Aruna said, be conscious of yourself as well for what you do, because don't underestimate the small impact that we do, the little act that we do. Try to use things as little as possible, just enough to enjoy our life, keep our life healthy. And I think it goes from there, and share with one another, grow more plant if you can do it, and grow more trees. It's nothing can give us as much as the trees and nature. So I think it's to do whatever we can, and educate ourselves more and make the right choice, make the smart choice, support local. And some of our friends, just order food that, instead of throwing away because it doesn't look good, right? The potato doesn't look good. It look different than just, the one that they sell in the package or in the store, but someone make the business out of it. So I think it's awesome. Does it need to look good before you cook? For me, it doesn't matter at all, as long as it's healthy, all it counts. So I think support local and more considerate and thoughtful for what you do and buy. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think this was an interesting question. A lot of interesting ideas were thrown out there. So just to summarize the best ones that I think were talked about, one is the behavioral economics part of it, knowing that it starts with us and the role that we play in this entire ecosystem. Although organizations will be bound by regulations and will be forced by bottom lines, it's the customers who have the choice to buy products. Like Aruna mentioned, the product itself needs to be sustainable in nature, and having access to that information, that what are the components of it, where is it coming from, and creating a system of authenticity around it. Those are some beautiful ideas that I found here. And also the one about the contribution of our daily activities and our daily expenditures, and what all we are buying and how it is actually affecting the environment. Having a consistent or accurate data around it would be a good starting point. So this was an interesting question, I'd say. So thank you so much for sharing your viewpoints on the same. Moving on, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what our partners are doing. So if businesses are truly committed to being green and socially conscious, they need eyes on every link in the supply chain. This involves prioritizing the data collection in every business department and from every storage and every distribution partner. It is not just the nucleus organization's responsibility, but end-to-end supply chain needs to be involved into this. So what do you think is the current status of what our business partners or our stakeholders are doing about it, besides us being the woke customers or the woke nucleus organizations? How are our partners aligned to this thought process?
In fact, some of the partners may really feel that you are such a pain because you're enforcing so much of rules and regulations. You want them to still deliver on time, but do a lot of things. So the way I would look at it is, for any organization which is authentically and genuinely wanting to do this, and not just as a marketing gimmick, but looking at sustainability as a business strategy, the first step would be to map out all your stakeholders. Because today you might just be looking at 2 or 3 key stakeholders and maybe missing out a lot of your tier 2 or 3 suppliers or partners in your value chain who actually contribute to your whole process being sustainable. So the way I would look at it is, step one, map out your stakeholders and map out your partners in the entire chain. The second thing is, a lot of larger organizations take a kind of a big brother approach in terms of mandating environmental social governance without understanding the practical aspects of probably what goes on in their manufacturing partners hub, which is probably in a country that is miles away, an ecosystem which is very different. So maybe the sustainability department is pushing the tier 1 vendor to adhere to 15 norms, and whereas the purchasing department is pushing them to deliver a big order and they have to hire, say, temporary staff to do that. So unless this whole ecosystem works in a very synchronized way and not in isolation, it would only end up being a beautiful PowerPoint presentation and a strategy, which you're going to be failing to execute it. So the way to engage the partners is to empower them, to help them see what is the benefit that they are getting by being a part of this process. Now, let me give you a very interesting example from a project that I worked on, something similar, but not exactly in supply chain. So I'm someone who gets very excited at the sound of waste and recycling, because that's the industry I've spent a lot of time in. So as I say, I love the smell of waste, because for me, waste is a resource. So we started a door-to-door collection campaign where we gave each home a green bin and a black bin, and we told them, put all your non-recyclables into the black bin and your recyclables into the green. We spoke to the house owners, we did a campaign. When we checked the quality of what was coming through the recyclables, we found that it was all mixed up. We did a brainstorming and figured out that in most of the homes, the bins are being managed by the housemates and not the owners whom we spoke to. And that was a critical stakeholder group that we had missed out mapping out in our exercise. So you could relate this to a supply chain scenario where there could be someone in that value chain that you totally miss out. So we directed our campaign to them, and we actually told them that their little effort of putting the right thing into the right bin, what is the impact it's making, and how as an organization we are actually ensuring that their effort is not going wasted. Because if you practically look at it, till date, she or he was probably just putting everything in one bag and dumping it in a big bin. Today, it's maybe 10-15 minutes of extra work for them to put the right thing into the right bin. Why would they do that? So unless you empower them, show them the data, show them the impact of what happens when they are on board and how it benefits them, no one's going to be on board. And they're probably going to crib and do it just because they're getting big orders from this particular company, but they're not going to be immersed and engaged in the process. So for me, it's about marketing the entire sustainability strategy and encouraging them to share data, because that's when it's authentic. It'll deliver what it's meant to do. Otherwise, it's just, a beautiful PowerPoint presentation and a policy document that probably sits in the CEO's office. So that's just my view on the importance of engaging partners and kind of motivate them to share the data and not impress upon them to share and be transparent. Over to John.
Yeah, that's a great type of research you've done there, and some insights that you go gather that so other people can, even you and us, can build on. I guess what's interesting about this conversation is that it would be a shame if we left it here today and didn't do a follow-up and ended up with 3 or 4 potential business models that may need to be developed even further. That's just an idea that perhaps Riti could discuss further. But going back to the original question of having eyes on every link of the echelons of the supply chain and do businesses do that? No, businesses don't do that. Businesses have issues. The last 10 years, if you say which businesses have visibility of the supply chain, do they know what the if you gave them a piece of paper and a pen, say, sketch me your supply chain, and then said, all right, let me really show you now what your supply chain is. By the way, how can I do that? How can I create a visual representation of what your supply chain looks like? Because it's not like an easy thing to draw in many cases. And I tell you, my experience in business, I've worked in many sectors, is people don't. They just leave that to the purchasing department. That's it. And every now and then they do a bit of planning. So visibility of supply chain alone, just for the transactions, the flow of goods, information, and cash, all in one place in real time. Yeah, you need the digital control tower on that, and Reed, you know how difficult that is, and how many people actually have one. Well, a lot more will become to have one now after COVID. I tell you that. That was a big nudge, because there's failure points on the nodes. People want to know. So once they know and they can see it, then they can begin to get the data that Aruna said, that start getting data more than just data, and incentivize the good behavior. Let's take a thing of our own personal lives. If the local council where I live in said to me, we're going to measure your waste and we're going to check your waste, and we're not going to penalize you, but we're going to give you a credit for doing the right thing. We're going to reduce your monthly council tax by a little bit. Yeah, we're going to give you points. Like you go and spend points in your favorite store, we're going to give you extra points for doing the right thing. And then that reduces your tax. Not everybody would do it, right? Because we're all lazy. I cast myself as lazy as well. But certainly this is just another business idea. A company could do the same with their own suppliers, to say, you know what, if I see you complying to these principles of reduction of waste, the target, fair labor practices, and I will give you a rebate of a small percentage. I will value, this is the value bit, the shareholder bit, right? I will value that. I will use digital technology to actually account it. Why is missing, and this is something that some research we're doing right now with blockchain and AI. We're trying to kind of marry that compliance thing with a auditable, trustful system. Is get away from greenwashing. Maybe digital technology can be used to actually audit these things. To say, all right, you're telling me you're doing all this great thing. You planted a tree for every packet of mince pies I've eaten. I just got my wife, because I'm vegan some parts of the year, and she says, oh, you're vegan up to the Christmas. I bought you some mince pies that don't have any animal products in. There you are. And there's some beautiful package, a lot of packaging, by the way, which didn't look good, to be honest. And then it's got all sorts of writing for everything you do. We plant 3 trees, and how do I know? Well, they actually do that. Who are these people? Who can I go and find out? I'll have to waste a lot of time if I had to do that? Could I just really quickly say someone else other than their own self has marked their homework, right? Who are they? Where's the international body where's the ISO standard I can go at a glance with my smartphone and say, yes, this is what, there is a trip being planned for you right now in this place because you're eating this. That's another business idea. Generation Zers would love that because they want to be able to say, don't fool me. Enough with your lies. You've been saying for so many years that you are looking after the environment. Look, species are getting extinct. There's people in power who are climate change deniers. We had enough. So if you say you're going to do something, prove it. And in the proof comes the possibility of incentives and disincentives, and there's some business ideas how to do that. Council tax, give me a benefit, give me a reduction of my council tax. I'll give you a rebate if you're my supply chain. And I have visibility, by the way, because I can give you a platform when you can play. And it's a body there, a regulatory body, who's using some advanced technology, not an army of people making it really expensive to partake, and democratize it using the technology. And then we can move the dial a little bit. And I think that this conversation needs to carry on. The debate needs to carry on. That's it, I'll stop there.
Thank you. So yes, I agree with Aruna and John in terms of understand what the map or seeing as the big picture when it comes to supply chain management, right? You see how the supply chain flow. It doesn't mean that, one size fits all. I mean, you have a lot of products that going on. Sometimes the supply chain doesn't always reflect the same set of products. And just John mentioned, not every supply chain have the visibility. We have been talking about that for years. And yes, reality is not every supply chain have visibility. Now, when it comes to the size, the traditional linear supply chain still exists in some small organization, or that still have the suppliers that at the manageable amount of the trading partners that they link to it and they connect with. So when it's more advanced, it's more complex with the larger enterprise, then they can go beyond just asking the supplier to do in the term of policy or strategy. So how do partner do? I think down to everyone have the same understanding. Why is it so important to take care of the sustainability and environment? It come back to us in many ways or form. Pharmaceutical, for example, supposed to help us, right, to be healthy. Do they take that into the environment perspective where the manufacturing process or plant have going on and it's impact the environment? So some people have that direct impact. Are you authentic to it? You are really mean what you said and you do what you said, not just the policy or when you speak to the public, this is what we're going to do, but you act in different ways. I mean, even itself, the thing is, when you get rid of the expired thing and then you bury it in the ground, and it's damage the environment. So not just for me, it's just not just make public. You need to be realize the act that you do, the product that you produce, the wind turbine that you produce is actually safe to environment until the end of its product. I mean, we cannot just put into the public, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is good for environment. When it comes to acting, you need to follow your words as well and see it through. So for me, make it simple and easy for everybody to understand, to follow. Set it into, don't make it so complicated, don't make it so fancy words or buzzwords or whatever. Just make sure that people understand and make it into the communication point. Set it in your website or your company, grind into your culture. And hey, when you talk to the company A or company B, you need to be careful about what you do. You need to be careful about the child labor, or don't let the human traffic come into your supply chain. You need to that. Now the regulation and all that from the government need to support that as well. So in is I can see that, you know, the compliance can be much easier than where I came from the other country, from the other part of the world, because the law is stronger. They can reinforce the law. They can I would say it can help people to know that if you do something wrong, right? But just like John said, not everybody whatever is good. We know the exercise is good for us, but how many days we do in a week, right? Because it's not come to practice. We need to follow it through, and just like I think, just make it simple, make it easy, put in the communication, put it in the part of policy that you're gonna do, and people suppliers and partners in the network would know then and follow it through easily. So thank you.
Okay, so here,
May I add one little thing there, and that has to do with design of product or redesign of product and redesign of supply chains. As people are taking a big breath and say, let's really look at how we make things, where we source materials from. There's an opportunity to begin with the end in mind. There's a big thing in personal development. Begin with the end in mind. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? Well, begin with the end in mind when you redesign your supply chain. Begin with the end in mind when you redesign your product. Now is the time to actually bring that out as on a to-do list for a lot of manufacturers, a lot of businesses, and a lot of individuals. And I guess, where do we begin? We begin by asking those questions.
amazing. So what I heard was um, stakeholder management from the perspective of visibility. Firstly, tracking who all play a role in contributing to, sustainable development, or probably understanding the role each stakeholder plays in the big picture, then engaging them to the core with the understanding that it's not just a compliance, or it's not just another thing that our OEM has kind of enforced on us, or is forcing on us. People need to know, people in the organization, that supply partners need to know their role and the impact that it will generate. While this becomes one side of it, there are definitely other components to it with regard to understanding whether this will be backed by the law or not. Like Jeet was mentioning about the concepts, we know it's good for us, it's good for the organization and for the world, but do we have the appropriate policies in place to keep a check of things? So these are some interesting ideas that we actually discussed. Now, I do have a lot of follow-up questions. However, in interest of time, I'm just going to put up one quick one, towards the end of this, as to um, there's a role that technology plays, and we know that the kind of disruption it will bring in supply chain, or it has already started, given that we are in the pandemic economy. I want to understand the interface of technology and sustainability in supply chains at the moment. Do you think that there is a connect at the moment, that we can leverage technology to implement sustainability, or to increase the awareness about the same in our system? Or do you think that there's a disconnect there? Just towards the end of it, to throw the topic of technology so that we can pick it up in the next huddle.
Definitely. The way I look at it is technology is an enabler, but we should be wary that we do not force fit it. Because technology sometimes ends up being a must-have, and then you buy this expensive software or a tool, and you really don't know what it's doing for you. It's something which is just sitting there unutilized. So technology is definitely an enabler, but we shouldn't put the cart before the horse. For me, the strategy comes first, and as John mentioned, you should have the end in mind. What am I trying to achieve, and what is the appropriate technology that's going to help me get there? So Where for sustainability technology adds value is that entire element of real-time transparency. Probably through solutions like blockchain or through live apps which can be used by various stakeholders. It actually feeds in information into your sustainability strategy. For example, the organization where I work in, we are working towards being net positive and actually reporting on triple bottom line for our investors. Now, financial transactions is usually robust. You have your transactions captured, from, whether you're making $1 million purchase or expenditure or a couple of bucks, you have it all mapped out. Similarly, for environment and social, which are the two other aspects when you look at triple bottom line. So we're moving from a single bottom line to a triple bottom line approach where you say people, planet, and profit. Now, for the people and for the planet aspect, which is the environment and social, there is where technology can play a huge role in enabling transparency. For example, there's an organization called Clean Hub, which tracks, plastic transparency. So they have this app which live tracks how much waste is collected, where is it going, and provides complete traceability. Now, as a brand, I would need something like that to be credible in terms of saying, yes, I'm offsetting my footprint. Because otherwise, as some of our other panelists mentioned, I planted a tree somewhere. Is the tree still there? Did someone plant the tree? Did they water the tree? So, it just becomes a marketing gimmick. It just becomes a promise. It's not action. So the way I look at it, technology is an important enabler, and companies or professionals who are looking for sustainability as a career, if they can weave in technology, understanding of sustainability, and understanding of supply chains into their profile, that becomes a winning combination. Because when these three work together, it kind of provides an amazing combination to make this whole agenda a reality. So that's how I would look at the role of technology and blockchain, and just adding to the transparency and live data collection.
And to add to that, on my side, because I do look at all these technologies as part of what I do here, and as also as a process of discovery, because there's a lot of digital hype. Some of my colleagues over in the US did a research project recently where they asked companies, how far do you think are you down the journey of digital transformation? And all of them, the majority of them said we are below average, which is wrong. They cannot all be below average. And then the researchers started scratching their head and say, why are they saying that? How can they all be below average? Well, what's creating that perception? What's creating the perception is the hype in the media. The one or two or three companies will say, oh, we've done this by using those tools. And everyone else is looking at that and say, oh, we're nowhere near this, or we're really bad. The reality is they may be bad, they may be not very advanced in a continuum and a digital supply chain, digital readiness thing. And we know this because the work that we've done in Cranfield, and when we read as well, we found out there's not a lot of people are. If you go level 1 is visibility, level 2 is predictability, level 3 is prescriptibility, and then level 4 is autonomy. And not many people are even on level 2. Level 3, which is, if this then that type of automatic reality, not very few, but they get the headlines. And they make everybody feel, oh, I have to actually add technology. And then they say, what do I use this technology? So let me find a problem to solve with this technology. And this is where it all goes wrong. It was back to Aruna says, well, you need to know where you're going. It's by making that part of your strategy. And actually, it's not a technology. You can buy that stuff, really, today. And it's cheaper than ever before. Everyone can have it. I used to say to my students 25 years ago, I had Industry 4.0 because I used to work for a rich organization which had a plant that looked like Starship Enterprise. Yeah, We had the iPhone in 1995, ladies and gentlemen. Control room with touch screens, set points. We ran a vast chemical plant with 15 people and two-way radios. It felt like I was in a special kind of army. We made a ton of money. We could afford the expensive systems. What's the difference today? Other people with not a lot of money like that can afford those special systems, whatever the may be probably in the world. So what? Is that going to make a difference? Yes, they're tools. Use them if you have the right approach. If there is a market, if look at what your generations others are looking for. Because here's the thing, in about 50 years time, some of us won't be around. So this thing isn't just about us. And I think some of the climate change denying is because of this factor, because of like, I'm not going to be around, so I don't care. So yeah, some people don't care, some people don't care even if you tell them what's going on. But a lot of us do. And these are just tools, and these tools can hurt someone. Some of those tools are bad. They're data heavy. And I'm saying to people, when you're looking at your next data digital technology infrastructure, one of the criteria to say how green is this, how clean is this. We began to think of data is free. Data is free. No, it's not. Data is energy. And right now, our energy sources are not that clean. And it's going to take another 20 years out of the 50 that some of us, like me, have in the lifespan to clean it all up. And in the meantime, the environment might be a little bit less nice. Some more people would have died. Some more pandemics may come along. By the way, who says this is the last? Who says there isn't another one coming out? You know, it's a scary thought. I don't want to scare anyone. But, and then what? Risk management. Risk management, okay, I know Reed has done a lot of work on this. Let's reinvent risk management. Let's reinvent risk management from an existential point of view. And at the end, going back to the work that has been done in North America on this, is fresh research, by the way. It was like, look at your people. Look at your culture. We started out, culture and talent. Focus there. And focus on what you want to do that's going to make you a better company that creates sustainability, long-term shareholder value. Here's another practical thing I want to throw out there. If we did a survey and said, who would you like to give an award, an international brand that you think deserves an award for right now doing the right thing for the world? Who? They deserve an award for what? Let's go to schools, right? Let's pick up a couple of countries and write this big survey and say, who do you want to give an award for a company that's doing the right thing right now? Or a government that's doing the right thing? Let's have the people's prize, the People's Nobel Prize equivalent, Generation ZS. You want to recognize a company or organization for setting an example for everybody else to copy. If I ask myself that question, I don't know what to say. I don't have an example right now. But we need some. 1, 2, 3 big names that they wanna differentiate themselves in that race, because it is a race from many perspectives. It's a race commercially, it's a race existentially, and it's a race for talent as well. Because let's face it, why would someone want to go and work for someone right now? And we've seen the last 5 years companies say, I think I need to be clear on my values. Well, why do you think that? Oh, because a lot of the young people are coming to interview me. Ask me that question. All right, let's write something cool right now, quickly. Let's write something that sounds amazing to entice us people to come and join us. And they haven't read Collins. And Collins says, you can't make that stuff up. Because either you are it or you're not it. And if you're not it and you pretend to be, you're going to cause far more damage to yourself than if you just admitted who you are. Oh, if you want to reinvent yourself, you're talking about fundamentally about some culture change, and that's a different game. And by the way, that game takes a little bit of time. By the way, that game takes a little bit of time. Read Bloomberg about Boeing last week. What happened? This time last year I was with Boeing. I was in St. Louis. I love these people, but they lost their way. And back a year ago, they were not in a position yet to admit it. But now that they have the opportunity to go back to the core values that made them special. So they are on a journey that's going to take them a little bit of time to go and find out what made them so good. So, yes, at the end, it's about who we are and better versions of ourselves, and having that humility to say that organizations perhaps need to look with a degree of humility, because that's what the new employees and the new consumers want from them. And that's something to be encouraged, I think, because it's going to help us. I've talked far too much. I'll stop there. Really, you need to cut me off when I do that. Turn my microphone off.
You brought up great points. Both of you, again, Aruna and really appreciate it. So back to the question. So what technology can help with this? For me, technology is a tool. And we cannot forget that without the technology, I would never meet Rashmi. I will never meet John or Aruna or everyone else in here. So I'm thankful for that. So use the technology for things that improve our life, and it doesn't damage too much to the environment. So don't forget that the tool, but the most important thing is human. So people, environment, economy, those kind of things that impact us the most. I would think, let's not just focus profit in terms of money. Let's focus about the impact to the social, the job loss. When it comes to technology, would you be happy living in a world that's full of depressed, people don't have the job, they cannot take care of themselves, those kind of things. It take into consideration that when it comes to social responsibility, having people to have ability to get a job, 7% of the working adult or working age population that are employed. So for me, technology is good. We can use it for good, but we also have social responsibility to consider and to trade off those points as well. So it comes to every one of us. We need to aware of those impact that will come to us in terms of social as well. So my connection is not that good. That's say it's to experts, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So what I heard that was synonymous in all our panelists was that technology is a tool, it is an enabler. The question is whether your organization really needs it. It's not just a fancy thing that you can, because everyone's doing it, you should not be under the peer pressure of your fellow organizations who are being publicized by the media hype of it, that what, even I'm going to look for one and apply the same. The question is, there are more important things to focus on, much more important values that we need to emphasize on, rather than just being entering the rat race of being one of those people implementing the technology for the sake of it. So it's about our readiness and whether do we really need it. So I think it's kind of like the best way to set the direction for our next thought leaders huddle as well, wherein we talk in deep about the cost of the technology that to the environment, the relation between the two, and how it actually will create impact in the industry in terms of the KPIs that we want to map eventually and seek improvement in. So this was a heavy lifting, interesting discussion with some business ideas thrown here and there. And I think, like it was mentioned, the discussion doesn't end here. These discussions just scratch the surface and give us like food for thought for further work. either through research or through more conversation and dialogues like this to create awareness. So this was interesting. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking out time today. To close this discussion, I would like to invite Mawa. Mawa Mukherjee is the co-founder of The Star in Me, an advisor to the Pencil and Pistons, and she would like to thank our esteemed panel for today's discussion and their time.
Yeah, fantastic conversation. Very, very deep. And this is a topic, it is deep. It would take, I think, days and hours for us to talk. And I see the passion in each of the panelists when you all spoke about it. And I think all of you said about one thing that we aren't aware, right? And that predominantly comes from our cognitive bias of present bias. We are so much on payoffs that's happening around us. We don't see beyond 3 or 5 years. So hence, we don't take our action so seriously. And each one of you did say that at home, we start at home with taking responsibility of our own things, and especially parents on this or whoever is listening, it's so much important that our next generation, when they're born, they see us responsible. If they see us responsible, we can't tell them and teach them in books that be responsible. We have to be responsible and show them so that they take it and grow from there. So thank you, and really, really appreciate all of you spending that time. Jeet, Aruna, and John, thanks a lot. Rashmi, you have a big job because fantastic conversation, great business ideas coming out. So you have to take this thread on and have this conversation so that we actually be happy after a few months or years that something really concrete has come out. At least, the research and lovely ideas which can connect. And three of you are from three different countries. So it's really amazing to hear. So thank you. Wouldn't take more time. We are already 17 minutes beyond our schedule, but really liked your passion. Thank you, Rashmeet, for starting this.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in. We will be, especially for your time on a weekend, it really matters in a pandemic. And, you focusing on, taking the responsibility to share your expertise. It means a lot to us. So thank you so much.
Great pleasure.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Thank you for providing this to share the idea and opportunity to meet you all. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. See you all soon in the next huddle. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.